Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi, welcome to the Political Dice.
It's
controversial,
purely political,
well researched,
accurate and global.
Oyagala bya parliament oba council.
Yes, the house oba ghetto.
Ani ayuga ku ground.
Ani bwe babuze.
Okimanyi nga Dr. Kiza Besigye aleese amaanyi.
Olwofadda bafutoli abateeseemu obuvaazi.
Oba yo DP eri kuki?
Olwojema.
Bano ba MKCG bo baddawa.
Abo bafuna CDF baamala tebabanja. Olwo baba ate bange bali kuki?
Abo bo akina kulabisa simayanga posturing tebabiri bali mu structure building. Naye ate ono ye.
Ani oyo oba?
Ye ali kuki?
Oyo tumuleketa gamwanyiga mawu.
Ebe na birindira no ku the Political Dice ku the Alternative Dig Talk nange teditenjo ewamune.
Farida Bikobere
Buli wa Sunday
sawa pili.
PM. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar. Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m., featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besigye every Fridays, 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are the Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Omwezi tuli mu gwa mutunda omuzungu gwayita September mu mwaka 2024 ebinje bikyagenda maaso mu ggwanga era nga Digital TV twasalawo kubanga tubannyonnyola biki ebiba bigenda mu then bw'oba ova ku side z'ebuziga Munyonyo and Konge oba wakayita ku Ndusa petrol station on your left hand oba ojja kulaba Sewagudde close awiri ebifaananyi oyagala kuba bifaananyi bya mbagayo bya mukolo gwo birthday osobola okubanga otwesiga naffe ne tusobola okubanga tukuweereza then tusobola okukola ne videography nti tujja ku olwaleero mpereddwa ekitiibwa okubanga ngenda kubanga omukyala oba abakyala ab'enjawulo bakyala bano balwanyirizi ba ddembe Opoloje abengenda okubanga hosting olunaku olwaleero era tugenda kuba twebuuza ku nsonga ez'enjawulo naye mainly we're going to look at how the young people abavubuka basobola batyo okubanga but also on YouTube, on Twitter we are the Alternative UGA naye n'oteekamu ekigambo Alternative Uganda oba osobola okubanga otulaba tuline ku Instagram. City leaders urge residents to protect planted trees. Nti eyo Hoima abakulembeze basabye abavubuka oba abantu basobola okwettanira okukuuma obutonde bw'ensi kye baliisa okusiga so abakulembeze be Hoima City bagambye nti oba basabye abantu baabwe basobola okubanga balima emiti oba nga basimba emiti. Then MPs protest Muhoozi's remarks on military rule. Waliwo omwami ono byadde ayogera ebyenjawulo omuli nti bannayuganda tebagenda kubanga basobola okukulembera eggwanga lino okujjako ng'oli munnamagye oba ng'oli mu police. So ba MPs ab'enjawulo ojja genda osome ku story eyo mpola mpola. Then North Korea win under 20 record Women's World Cup nti abantu be North Korea wa Kim Jong-un basobodde okubanga beewangulya under kola debate. Jukira Uganda Law Society bagenda balonda omukulembeze waabwe ba candidates ab'enjawulo beesimbyeko omuli ne the rebel NRM opens race for Kisoro by elections omwami Richard Tadwong nga yakulembera ebyokulonda mu National Resistance Movement yamaze dde okubanga alaga roadmap. Waliwo emboozi ezitali nnungi, waliwo omwami asse mukyalawo ow'olubuto ensonga za ttaka ojja genda ozeesomereko awo. Then concerns arise as the Electoral Commission advances road. Bannayuganda bagamba enkyukakyuka naddala mu mateeka agafuga ebyobufuzi ziyimiriddewa so zezo ensonga ze bali mu kubanga boogera wano. Bakuleetedde omubaka w'e Bukoto South MP Kagabo mumanyi yali wa NUP wetwogerera nga yagenda kubanga akomawo mu 2026 naye agenda kukomawo ku tiketi ya NRM according to Nile Post bwe batugambye. Emboozi zikyali nnyingi bannange. Waliwo ne munnamateeka dragging First Lady General Muhoozi ne General Sale to court. Osobola ogenda n'olaba emboozi lwaki babasindika oba batwala mu kooti. Then n'omwami Anderson Burora ono nno yaliko RCC w'e Rubaga naye yakakasiza nti agenda kubanga ajja mu byobufuzi ebyokwesimbawo akalulu kano akajja. Then waliyo n'ababbi ziwera ate nga nno kino badde bakyadvocatingira okumala akaseera mu lino eggwanga nga tusaba gavumenti enoonye the maximize the money we get from rubbish kukadde nga ne Uganda ku border yafaawe ya Uganda ne Congo there are some suspected cases of monkeypox wadenga according to the tests emabegako we nasembayo owulira zaali negative naye tulina government of elections and extension of a transitional government for 2 years. Jukira nno eno ggwanga lya Sudan baali bategesa akalulu guno omwaka. Yes, I think by the end of this year ntiyayo Mumbuga. Then infrastructure failures are derailing socio-economic transformation project in T. That's a very good question, because if the IGP can be stolen from or robbed from, how about a common one? Mentorship in Uganda has been pronounced in higher education institution. Abantu balowooza nti kano ke kaseera abantu basobole okubanga abantu ab'enjawulo babeera mentored obanga bayita mu kukulemberwa naddala abantu ab'enjawulo mu fields ez'enjawulo. Osobola okugenda n'ofuna ku mboozi ezo. Waliwo emboozi za engeri gy'osobola okuzimba omubiri mu abaami byonna abaabikuteereddemu wano mu Daily Monitor. Era naye ereese n'emboozi ya Richard Todonga we yeetegekedde Kisoro by-elections. Kwegamba osobola okugenda n'osoma ku nsonga zino. Waliwo n'omukyala eyakubye kansa naye mwali mu Daily Monitor y'olunaku luno olwaleero. Zino ziri abiri ezakayita ku ssaawa 2 ez'okumakya. Munzikirize mpumulemu. Wenkomawo ngenda kutandika n'emboozi ey'aba activists ab'enjawulo. Tugenda kutunuulira ku biki bye tusobola obbayigako emboozi.
Like the Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Wednesdays, 6 featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besije every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. Choose Real Talk.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help? Information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact. Your taste buds and leave you with lasting, thrilling memories. Look no further. Spice Island Bulenga has got your answer. Natural, fresh and delicious juice, the best meals. Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes a...
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed...
That is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes, it can. Although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be normal.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
"27 minutes past the top of the hour." My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. You are still watching the Mighty Drive Show. It airs every Monday to Friday. We start from 8 to 10 a.m. We try to inform you, so that you can, have knowledge and make an informed decision, knowing what is happening in your country, around the globe. But also, at the end of the day, we're trying to have these conversations in order to build a better Uganda, a Uganda that our children and our grandchildren will grow up seeing and enjoying. Today, as I promised you, I have two activists. One is not yet in studio, but the other is already here, Miss Kemitooma K. Nyina'Nkyenzibo. Kemitooma is a political activist, or you can even call her an activist, and she self-describes as a tired citizen. I don't know where that sentiment comes from, but that's how she identifies, especially when it comes to these issues. Kemitooma was one of the ladies that protested against corruption in Parliament. You remember what was happening there? In a group of ladies, stripped naked and of course colored in the colors of Uganda, walked to Parliament trying to advocate for a corruption-free legislature. They believe that the Parliament and of course the Speaker should resign. Because of this particular activity, they were charged and remanded, and as we speak they're out on bail. The question is, what does this really mean to them? How was the experience? But of course we're going to even delve into a further conversation of how can we ensure to build a better country, to ensure that Uganda has good governance. So what you can do is send in your message, your comment, your question, your response. A strong woman. How are you?
How am I? I'm not yet fine, if I could be honest. Okay. I know an activist, a fighter. Yes.
Let's see about the rest, but you are alive. Just that some people may not know who Kemitooma is, just to bring us to speed to who the person is. How does Kemitooma come to be? Who is Kemitooma?
It's act. It's a performance. Usually you wait for problems to happen and then you come and do something about it. You act. In high school.
Wow.
So yes, I didn't know what it meant at the time.
Okay.
I was just speaking up against grievances in school. I've been a leader throughout school. To enter the public domain, I did that, I think, in 2019 when we protested against tuition increment at Makerere University. Oh. Yes.
I remember that group of ladies.
Yes.
You were a part of them.
I was part of the ladies, the 15 women against 15 tuition increment.
Yes.
Yes, but I think that is when I started receiving the fruits of activism, of the struggle, because after then I was suspended from the university. Yes. That is why I couldn't finish from there. So I've been here, I've been in school, trying to finish school, despite the activism. I've tried to organize with different movements around Africa mostly. Julawata in Tanzania, I've organized with the social movements in Nairobi, the Social Justice Center movement. I've organized with the movement in Ghana, the Economic Fighters League, and I've also organized with La Lucha in DRC. So I sort of took the approach from the acting, from the activism, to really looking for the roots of the problem.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is how I come here.
Okay,
yes.
You say the roots of the problem, but did you find out the root of the problem?
Did I find? Don't we all know the root of the problem?
Maybe we may know, but you have the authority to speak to the root of the problem. What do you think is the root of the problem?
I will speak. I mean, the problem would be larger when you look at the bigger scope. But for Uganda's case, I don't think there is much we can do when we still have a president we've had for 40 years.
Yeah.
We can try. I mean, yesterday we tried with the corruption campaign, and we are still trying. Different people are still trying. But we're in a toxic relationship with the president. And when I say that, I mean everybody. I don't mean opposition political parties and then parties of the government, the party of the government. I mean all of us as a country. We're in a very toxic relationship where we have one man hailing at the top and acting as the overall, and then all of us just have to bow.
Isn't that what we're supposed to do? He's the president.
No, it is problematic. You know, we should have something sovereign that we serve, so that when one president comes in and goes, we still have that sovereignty that we are serving. And it cannot be a human being. It cannot be a face.
Oh, you're meaning serving the office rather than the person?
Yes, rather than the human being that sits in it.
Oh, okay.
But in Uganda, when you come out and ask questions to a given office, faces come up, you know. Anita Mong will come for you directly.
Yes.
And yet you came out to ask questions to the Speaker of Parliament, to the office, so that even when it is not Speaker among any other speaker that comes in, you're allowed to ask them questions. You're allowed to hold them to accountability. But when you do that in Uganda, you see the faces coming up. You know, and that is why a faceless campaign could just not work, because the face politics in our country is a bit, now we would say it is the root that we have to break. If Semakade and team are banging tables, we should exhaust that and go to breaking the roots of the tables. All
right, thank you so much. And you have said off camera it was even worse.
Yes.
What keeps inspiring you to go back again? What is so attractive about activism?
Yeah, like you've mentioned,
yes,
the suffering is imminent, but I'm not the only one. I think for me that is what gives me hope that Besigye has suffered worse. You know, we've had Sam Mugume has been arrested in Congo for 8 years, you know, and then his colleagues are still there. So when we talk about,
of this world,
we've had Kakwenza, his back was literally scrapped off. He's scrapped off, you know, like he's a machine. Like he has meat on his back. So it's coming because people have set precedent for us.
I know, but the resolve to stay in it when you're knowing that it's worse for me, but I have to stay in it. It's what I'm asking. Where do you get those guts?
Yeah.
Yes, I know you're inspired by the messages, but you're still Kemitooma.
I'm still Kemitooma.
What keeps you?
The sovereignty that I talked about earlier, I still believe in that. That even when we have some person at the helm operating as the overall, and which has weakened our institutions so much, I still believe in the sovereignty. Look at the faces. You don't have to go back to who is sitting in this office and who is sitting in the other. So that keeps me going. I know it is difficult, but it is called struggle for a reason.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much.
How are you?
That's a funny question these days, but I usually say that I'm not at my worst place, not at my best place, which I think is a fair place to be. History of this country was reading about the history of liberation. It reminds me that power has always resided with the people. And when the people decide that enough is enough and they need to stand up and act with me, and me, that's where I get my resolve from, because change has always emanated from the people. So that is basically it.
Okay, good submission, but it feels like Ugandans are oblivious of that.
So I wouldn't actually blame Ugandans largely for how they are, because I think that to realize that there needs some sort of awakening from the things that have hindered. By we're here, we were stuck in traffic. All of us were waiting in traffic, so stuck. All of us had where to go. Then all of a sudden, there were some soldiers seated on a car, and then they were on a lane, another lane that had also been stalled because the traffic officers were letting a certain lane go, which I'm sure they had also waited for quite some time to be let go. Then the soldier comes out, he's holding something like a whip, and he's, you know, scaring everyone, like shaking it, stop, park, even tells the traffic officer, let our lane go.
Wow.
And kid you not, the traffic officer stopped the other lane and told the other lane to go. So you're looking
Because
at
maybe power belongs somewhere.
you see, and that's what they try to show you, you know? That's the illusion they try to create. I feel like there is an apathy in Ugandans to know what their history is, to just read or get some exposure in line with like civic and political education, you get?
Why?
Certain rights, you know, that the state owes them certain duties. For example, when we're in prison, and I was trying to talk to some and I was trying to talk to some inmates, and I was telling them, do you guys know that you have certain rights? Inmates, and I was telling them, do you guys know that you have certain rights? For example, died fighting for the right thing. For example, died fighting for the right thing. So even having that kind of knowledge reminds you that if you keep quiet and do nothing, you're going to die anyway. I usually tell this joke nowadays. You're going to die anyway. I usually tell this joke nowadays that you came in. We got so comfortable that you came in. We got so comfortable because they came with this illusion of peace. Yes, exactly. Illusion of peace. Yes, exactly.
We sleep.
And people are still ignorant.
We sleep.
And people are still ignorant to that point. And they think that, you know, the lack of the street, that classifying of certain people as activists, such that for you, you're a doctor, you're a teacher, you are whoever you are, a businessman, and then me, it's my job to go to Luzira, has also...
Why naked? The question of the century. Why naked? For complex, but for the slap and she fell at the wall.
And why would you slap really?
At the wall.
And why would you slap really?
Exactly. So we had watched all this happen. So we had watched all this happen. We knew it. And again, like I said earlier, we're not the first people to be brutalized by if we are naked, we shall be handled by the women. We shall be handled by the women. And we thought the women maybe will be less violent, but we were shocked. We were either were beaten. Then the supporters, but we had some ridicule. They were beaten. Then the supporters, but we had some ridicule the idea. Miriam Matembe, I cannot be ashamed to say. Miriam Matembe, I cannot be ashamed to say that she was of the view that we do not to curse anything. She was of the view that we do not to curse anything or anybody out of the country.
Yeah.
You know, but it was a cursing country.
Yeah.
You know, but it was a cursing ceremony. That let us stand in front of Parliament. The kitchen of the government, and the kitchen of the government, and curse. Let people say all sorts of words they would want to use, whether vulgar or not vulgar. Let them use them. Whether vulgar or not vulgar, let them use them. You saw Nora hold a placard. That said that she had come to mourn that day on camera. That said that she had come to mourn that day on camera on the street. But we were ridiculed either way when we got to Luzira women prison. They kept calling us corruption. They kept referring to us as the nude women. They kept referring to us as the nude women. And there is a strip search that happens when you're going to see it. We're railed in court. The discussion had already started.
Yeah.
From CPS, the lady that we found in the cells was ridiculing us and saying she wouldn't do that if it was her. You know, they were looking for attention. And the moralists also saying that this is not the African way of doing things. Well, I can tell you today, whoever thinks that...
The late General Nyina'Nkyenzibo, as she was heading to the northern part. I remember ladies, old ladies from that area.
Yes, question. And they stripped.
They stripped naked.
And when he died, people said, we were being told the same thing. Actually, the boss at CPS sat with us and said the conversation was going to be sister-brother sort of conversation and nudity, that we're teaching young people to be naked on the street. But can we have the conversation both ways? Can we not only attack it from the protesters? Can we also talk about
why
what
they
were protesting?
Yes, I remember in the past one used to say, Bobi Wine asaba n'ababendi. And I'm like, okay, yes, ayinza okubassa, but ani ali mukutta?
Exactly. Let's look at both sides. So yes, we got naked. We are teaching young people to be nude as a form of protest. What are we protesting? And what are the other people we are protesting, teaching young people? Corruption. Corrupt officials who will be let free, because it is not the first time it is happening. And that is why I keep calling myself the tired citizen, because personally I am tired of the cycle, you know, the cycle. The one corruption has not begun today, but we keep losing it. We keep losing the war. So if it takes us being naked on the street, we're going to get naked, and we are just beginning.
All right. Thank you so much. It's 5 minutes to the top of the hour, ladies and gentlemen. This show is called The Mighty Drive Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. I'm still with Miss Kemitooma and Miss Opoloje. They are political activists, and of course they were the brains behind the nude protests that we saw earlier on against corruption in the August House. We're going to go for a short commercial break. When we come back, I'll be reading some of your messages, but we shall also be delving more into the conversation of corruption and other issues that are happening in this particular country. And of course, as we metamorphose into the electoral process, what do you guys...
Corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought, but it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our...
Do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level...
Hi, welcome to the Political Dice.
It's
controversial,
purely political,
well researched,
accurate and global.
Oyagala bya parliament oba council.
Yes, State House oba ghetto.
Ani ayuga ku ground.
Ani kwe babuze.
Bano ba MKCG bo baddawa.
Abo bafuna CDF bamala tebabanja. Olwo baba anti bange bali kuki.
Abo bo akina kulabisa simayanga posturing tebabiri mbali mu structure building. Naye atono ye.
Ani oyo ba.
Yali kuki.
Oyo kyomuleketa gampanyiga mawe.
Ebe ndabena birindira no kuda Political Dice ku the alternative TikTok nange teditenja ewamune.
Farida bikobere
buli wa Sunday sawa 2.
The alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
It's 9 a.m. We are into the second and final hour of the show. This is the Mighty Drive. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. I am still with Miss Kemitooma and Miss Opoloje. These are activists, and of course, they were the center piece in that protest against Anita Among. Remember, the ladies are stripped naked, and of course, they had colors of Uganda donned on their bodies, but also messages fighting corruption. As we went for the break, remember we talked about why the nudity itself as a form of protest, and Kemitooma had something to say. I'm going to come to Miss Opoloje. Why really nudity in your perspective? She has hinted on it, but personally, what do you think about that particular protest?
Okay, so everything she has said, plus, you see, we have so many double standards in this country, especially when it comes to pointing out what is wrong. Just recently, there was a trending video of the Watoto pastor who was like, I think trying to preach something about people having integrity. Then he hints on the march to parliament, and he's like, you see now, like these people who went to march to parliament, that cannot even end corruption. I'm not saying don't join them. You can join them. But do you know that before the march, they paid money to police officers and something of the sort? Now, you see, the double standards come in such a way that you always, when you see a moral issue, you target the least powerful person. If, for example, you see young women protesting nude against corruption, it's so easy for you to quote the Bible, quote the Quran, quote a tradition, by the way, which shows a lot of ignorance, quote everything that you can find to show that they did the wrong thing. But when it comes to things like corruption, you accommodate it. And this is not just with laymen. The president himself can stand up and say, you see, if we fight corruption, whom will we remain with in the system? The speaker herself can come and say, it's okay to steal as long as they share with you, you know. But what they take their eyes away from is the fact that, oh, we have over 30 people that have been buried in rubbish due to negligence. We have young children who are dying in hospital because there is no drugs in those hospitals. We have young people who study up to the university, do not have jobs, and yet their parents invested heavily in their education. We have children that study under trees in schools where the government claims they don't have money to fund, but at the same time they have money to do things like regional parliaments as doctor internees are there. They have money to give 10 million entertainment allowance to the Speaker of Parliament. I wonder what's entertaining in this country. They have the same money to give to the Speaker and Deputy Speaker to buy generators. So we wanted to bring back that embarrassment to people, to show them that as you sit down and condone these things, they're naked, trying to fight for that better system for them. And women, like you saw on her body, she had 4 children. Women in this society, especially the African society, we don't have money. We don't have names. We don't have any status. This is us in our most raw form.
You're giving your sanctity.
Yes, this is us. Call out, abuse, find whatever, and not even ask themselves, okay, what if what they're pointing us to is important? And it comes from, you know, people viewing things just as statistics.
But how do you feel when are they kind of person that you may not necessarily be, but because of the action of your protest, they are classifying you. Some are looking at you maybe as an object, objectifying you. Some are looking at you as a prostitute, as someone who lacks that. Don't you feel a bit funny?
Okay. Ignorance. And I'm not meaning ignorance that they haven't read, they're just refusing to accept the reality. They're looking for somewhere else to put that blame or that attention. I don't care. That's the honest truth. It may sound so, I don't care. You can have, there's someone who was trying to attack me so much on Twitter, and I told them, you see, I even forget their name. I like that you have this conversation. I like that each time you feel you want to attack me, you're going to pull out my picture and put it out there. But I'm sure on that picture you'll also see on my body, no to corruption. In the background, you'll see parliament. And in as much as you pretend that you don't know why I did it, it will be all over that picture. So either way it works for me, whether you're using it to have a bad conversation. You see, when you're having a movement, sometimes it's not about getting the big numbers in one go. It's about that one person you transform with that one action that you do. But also for purposes of conversation, let's have the conversation, whether it's positive or negative, but let's have the conversation. So really it comes down to, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me come to you, Kemitooma. So what? You went nude, the protest was there. So what?
I would ask Ugandans that, but since I'm also Ugandan, So what?
What did you really register? What did you get from being naked for Ugandans?
Yeah, first of all, we opened up a conversation, like I said earlier, that it has come on table and nobody's going to put it off. Yeah, there's a lot that is happening in the country. We're nearing election year, so a lot is happening, and enjoy being nude. Opoloje said she doesn't care. I care a lot. I don't enjoy it at all. But it won't talk bad about the government or the police or anything. You see the toxic relationship we're in with the president. All of us in general.
Yes.
So in such a on the streets to hold young naked women, honestly, you know. So it is crazy when we ask, so what? Because honestly, so what? If you've already gone, I do not know. I do not know. As Kemitooma, as Opoloje, as even if you bring all the people that protested, I don't think you can find the answer. You know, of the apathy that we are talking about, that we are in as Ugandans, the indifference to just see things and we just look on. There's a safe corridor that has come up and it is social. It's comfortable. It's a safe corridor. And I know we have hashtags out there attacking those in safe corridor.
But you're part of
as
them.
a whole, we're in a safe corridor when we believe that we can go on social media. When we've gone to the extremes, we've had people join the bush. We've had groups who have tried to go to DRC and they were brought out very fast. You know, we've had different political parties go for the election. You know, they have chosen the ballot is what will work. And the ballot has not worked. Here we are now with women getting nude and saying that maybe and mothers, how did they used to do it? When you were pushed to the wall to a point where you cannot say anything, what did you do? They stripped naked. What follows after that, we've already had our own share. We've served already time in Luzira. We are still on remand. We are still battling with court case. Still on remand. We are still battling with court cases. We are still battling with cases. We are still battling with ridicule from fellow activists and even with ridicule from fellow activists and even fellow Ugandans, calling us naked. So there is a lot we are still battling with, but corruption is still on table.
And it has been the biggest problem that has been here, still here. At just 15 minutes past 9 a.m., I am still with Miss Kemitooma and Miss Opoloje. I'm going to come to you, Opoloje. And this comes, it's familiar to what I asked her, but every time you talk about these issues, you find that it's business as usual. The president comes out. The whole world, or the whole country, is against a certain person, a speaker. And the president comes and says, I have never seen a better speaker than this one. You get that sentiment.
That tweet,
Yes, like, it's okay. You people, everybody is seeing that corruption is too much, but the people you're trying to show this actually are feeling that this is nothing. Doesn't this undermine all your actions, the nudity, the protests? And at the end of the day, it remains business as usual. She's still speaker. Government is still running.
Okay, so you make a point, but as much as I should feel scared, I think the president or whoever is in this government should be more scared.
How so?
You understand? Because a few years ago, as praise, I would have never imagined myself on the street protesting against the police who have guns, especially when I'm nude. Never. But what pushed me to that point? Now, you see, the president is so comfortable and he doesn't even see the opportunity in front of him that you have young people that are willing to peacefully try to talk about these issues, you know? You might not see these things happen to people because no one is going online and tweeting always like, oh my God, they did this. I think I want to go to the bush. But if peace fails, of course, people resort for violence. And this is not even something that is a myth theory. This is a theory that humanity has proven over and over again through survival. You're pushing people to a point where they don't have anything. You understand? Where graphic of the young people that protested on 23rd, most of them unemployed doctor, unemployed journalist, unemployed. And these are read, studied people who have a little bit of access to resources. See if this kind of anger seeps into people who have nothing to lose in this country. People who have no other option but
All
this
Ugandans
option.
don't have that
Theory. This is what humanity is about. And if the president, if the people in power keep acting, you know, this apathetic to issues of...
Yes.
But you're still having that conversation. And like I told you...
Yes.
But you're still having that conversation. And like I told you, I'm using myself as an example. I never thought I would find myself on the street. Not because those things didn't anger me. They angered me. But I was still in that place. Problem, as much as it is my problem, it's a worse problem for the people creating that system. Because it's inevitable that people will get to that point where they say enough is enough. That's inevitable. Get angry enough. I know a lot of people ask us and say that you people are just creating like an echo chamber. So there's something they call it anger, anger baiting, something. But yes, that's what we have to do. That's all we have, people. It then becomes fishy. It's easy for the government to run a line of they are being funded. And it will really look like we are being funded. But ask yourself, what are you doing to get people to that point where they say enough is enough? Intelligent men like Jacob Bayero, and the next day you see him, he's a chairperson of the National Youth Council, supposed to lead young people, make them aware of these issues, but he's kneeling before the president and praying for corruption to leave this country and for him to...
The opposition. Well, if it is a bus that the NRM is, then the opposition is... cannot take us far because it has not taken us far.
Anywhere.
We've already seen that. It has not taken us anywhere. All it has done is to, again, make the safe corridor more comfortable.
Yeah.
That you sit back and say, oh, we have FDC, they're doing something. Last time they did an activity. They were marching to I don't know where. You saw Noop, they were marching, you know. So at a point where Ugandans would rise up and say, enough is enough, we've had enough of injustice, we get Ugandans falling back and trusting these political players. But they're not helping. Yeah, they're not helping. There are people who have said it is also a creation of the system. And it is true. Yeah, it is just to make the system run.
Legitimize.
Yeah. We have people who oppose this government.
Democracy.
If we had an opposition of the government, if we had an opposition in parliament, we wouldn't have had regional sittings. You know, I know they tried to talk about it and bang tables here and there, but we wouldn't have had it.
Yes.
Because there is something that Ugandans are not seeing. We're at a very vulnerable state right now in everything. And with this one, you have to put the sentiments aside. You have to put the colors aside. Today I was conflicted on what to wear. Because in this country, every color is a political party.
Yes.
You can't just be a designer and just be smart. No, you have to also have it at the back of your mind. Am I politically correctly dressed? You know? So it's crazy. We're at a vulnerable state, and political parties. It's a time to, you know, it's unforgivable. The Christians will come and say everything is forgivable, but not everything is forgivable, even in. And you question people who strip naked on the streets, you know.
Double standards.
So where we are at is. Any action that you do that...
I think around 15 billion for her office. Yes.
I should still the entrance.
But then there is some person that you should be looking to.
He's told that. We kept quiet. That is all that we are saying. That we're ending the apathy, the indifference, the keeping quiet. Why should we keep quiet? So the case
Why
of
don't
the
you go
going cuddling with the speaker. So when we go for the speaker, and we're really going for the president, and I will again reiterate that dealing with a narcissist, he will throw using public office.
Okay. As a human being, as a person, after this particular protest, the same question I asked her, so what for you?
They do not have the sort of, let me call it anger, because that's what it is for me largely. They do not have that anger that I praise, who is not necessarily in Chitezi has. that I'm trying to get answers along with other people that are interested in having a better country. And that's what I'm looking at implementing.
Okay.
I do not have answers. I do not have all the answers. We've had intelligent men and women before us that we hope to work with. We have the young people in this country that we hope to have these conversations with, to ask ourselves, how and what can we do? And that for me is my so what. My so what does not come from, okay, you're not touching the right buttons and ticking the right boxes. The question just becomes, how do you now widen this to be away from you, Opoloje, you, Kemitooma, to almost a thing all Ugandans face? And protest. How do we amalgamate these few people that we have seen that actually understand and support what we are doing to get the attention of this person who is oppressing us? So don't ask us,
20,000 people took
we
power.
can't, we shall never get there. And me, my so what is not, okay, let's get many people on board. My so what is, how do I get these 100 people that...
Okay, thank you. Julio Hilk Josh, live from Luemiaga, Zimbabwe. Thank you so much, sir, for watching. Then there is a gentleman called Mwesige Joram. You say, proud of these people. I need to talk to them about libertarianism. Okay, you can follow them on our social media platforms. There is George Mwebe. Thanks for the show. You are watching live from the Middle East. Thank you so much for watching. Then there is Makana Kennedy Indiamhaki. You're tuned in. Then you say, moderator, thanks for bringing those freedom fighters. Greetings to them, Bambi. Why do you add on the Bambi, though? You know why you add on the Bambi? He says, Mr. Karuhanga, those young ladies, freedom fighters, moving naked, demonstrating naked, it's a biblical. It's biblical. It was written. Okay, thank you so much. Continue sending in those messages. I'll be reading them subsequently. We have around 25 minutes to end this particular conversation. I'm going to come to you. As we're speaking today, the issues you're talking about are even becoming worse. I saw the first son, who is the CDF for this country, treat that no civilian will be able to leave this country. And those are just, that's a snippet of the many, many comments this gentleman has made, who even has power, and who's also the son of the president. And we have also had a lingering question of the transition. People thinking that he's going to transit from President Museveni to his son. And these are things that you're trying to fight. The civilians are trying to advocate for. The systems that you said, the table, you gave an analogy of the table. The table is really crumbling by the day. What do you think about that issue?
Yeah, the issue of the first son.
The tweeting general.
The tweeting general. I'm not on Twitter. I wouldn't know his tweets, but his words, you know, that they are shared eventually. He speaks from a point of privilege. Yeah, he's been privileged so much. You know, when you've had a father who owns the country, you might not know much. I mean, and it's ironic, because if your father owns the country, you should know the nitty-gritties of this country. I would, you know. If your father owns a company, for example, you should try to know what is happening in this country, to a level of even understanding what the cleaners are doing. But that is not what we've seen from Kainerugaba. And I wouldn't say I expect much from him. Yeah, I wouldn't say expect much. I've seen people react on him coming up and saying that he's not running for 2026, and I was wondering, did you people... A narcissist, even their child is a pawn in the game. Yeah, even their wife is a pawn in the game. So narcissist, I'm telling you, anybody around him is a pawn. You can either be used or you can be destroyed. If I cannot use you, I will destroy you. And if it means destroying my own son, I will destroy them. He will make a tweet or make he's a traditional man, so he could maybe write a statement that my son is going to take over. And you are liable for destruction. So that is why I say what Kainerugaba says in this country does not matter. He can wake up and say we're going to attack Nairobi. It does not matter. It is rubbish. As long as the dad, exactly, you bring a very good point. Because partly I don't belittle or I don't blame the youth when they resort to social media to lament. It has become so unsafe in Uganda that you cannot do anything. You go on the streets, you'll be met with violence like you've gone to the bush, you know? It's like the bush of the Museveni time is the streets of today. So in such a vulnerable state, you cannot say much, you cannot do much. You can just, even when you go on social media, they'll pick you. Edward the Weapon was
yes.
a young boy.
Kakwenza was also good from social media.
Stellania's dealing with the same issues.
Even here also, we were raided. And
even the studios were raided, just he holds. Unless he joins the opposition, unless he actually goes rogue, unless he actually goes radical like he says, then his opinions do not matter in this country.
Okay. Do you also agree with what she...
Questions like, is the army for the people still? Or is the army for a specific group of people in this country? There is that video that has been already show that this is not a people-centered, you know, force. Then we have the CDF coming to tell us things like, my army, my this. Yes, it may not be that he has the power, but he's close to the person that has the power over the army.
He's close to power.
Yes, that allows him make those statements. It shows us how the army works. That there is a man or someone at the top of it who could give it an order.
A certain sense of ownership to something. Even when he speaks, you hear, my army. So, aren't we just undermining this gentleman?
I think we are not undermining him, but I think the president would allow him some sort of power as long as it keeps him a little sane. You get the power, for example, to deploy a few people somewhere, you get, but not the power to go to Nairobi and attack Nairobi that the president has for so long tried to pretend that he cares about this East African community integration thing. So where the president has struggled, you see how bad our president is. He has struggled so hard to see that he remains with the picture of a civilian president. You understand? That even when he's beating up and locking up the Slivia Lutayas in prison for just being part of the opposition, he will come out and have, you know, conversations and have these conferences and ask you the questions, you know, and so he cares what his face looks like. Why do you think Kainerugaba will make a tweet today and in the evening time he's deleting it and the other day he's deleting it?
He does not really care.
Because there's a place of power that maybe when he's drunk or he's angry or he's, you know, in his high moments of saying, let me say this thing, someone else above him is going to say, no, 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 no. So that same person who tells him delete that tweet is the same person that allows him to deploy people somewhere because it doesn't hurt him. So that is where the power lies, and that's the... Oh yeah, you take these issues of Anita Among to court. Recently, they were just appointing someone as a head of an anti-corruption unit, I think, in URA, who had been convicted of corruption. Not a long time ago. We have seen not on one occasion where the president writes a letter or a statement telling a judge to overturn their decision that they made a public statement. You understand?
The Chief Justice was the lawyer for the president.
Exactly. So it doesn't work. We have one person who has a lot of power.
And that one person is coming back in 2026.
Yes.
So what next? That's another 5 years.
Yes.
Because if he comes on the ballot with the confusion of the opposition, I can say without reasonable doubt that this gentleman is going to come back and is going to win.
Okay, so I have a very unpopular opinion that I'm just going to voice out here. But before I say that, for example, I'm not going to tell people, for example, to, you know, do not vote this particular person, do not do this particular thing, because that sort of makes people think a funny way. I personally do not care which leader comes into power if the people realize where we started from in this conversation, that they have the power. You see the system she was talking about, where you have people, where you have systems that you don't identify with people, you know? To achieve those kind of systems, people have to realize that they have power to handle whatever leader that comes in accountable, to hold them accountable, to show them that, okay, yes, you're in here, but the power is not there. We are the ones that run this show. You understand? That's why even though the worst leader, Bobby Wine or whoever, Museveni or Besigye, or mention whoever leader will come up, if people do not realize that they should never sit back, cross their legs and say, oh, finally a good person has come in now, let's let them make all the decisions, then we shall be guaranteed of having those systems. So Museveni can come and run again. Someone else can even come after Museveni and make us suffer worse than what Museveni has made us suffer. If people do not realize that it is their duty, it is their responsibility as citizens of this country to keep leaders on their tenterhooks. And that's why we see America may not be the most perfect democracy, but it is a better democracy because the people realize that sort of power that resides within them. You understand? The fact that a leader will come in chat 1K, a plastic cup and a plastic basin, and you're so all excited and you vote them into power, you don't even think twice about whom you're voting into power. Okay, let's say the mistake has happened. People have voted someone bad into power. The person is there. Anita is a speaker. And then she's doing all she's doing, and your city problem is. So before we ask us, oh, President Museveni is coming back, first of all, people say, let's go to the bush, but I want to say something that climate change has happened. We don't even have bushes anymore to go
yes,
to.
there's nowhere you're going now.
So the question, is having a conversation of MPs choosing who the president
Electoral
is.
reforms, yes.
Electoral reforms. And ask yourself, if you really want to talk about reforms, are those the most painstaking issues in the electoral system in this country? And I am so sad to say I was part of the people who were like, get into the system and change it. I think he has a point. Let's wait for the miracle he's going to do. And here we are. Young people are being arrested for protesting peacefully, and pick the most ideal person you could think is the next president of this country.
Edgar Karuhanga.
Exactly, Edgar. Who has been here, sending bullets everywhere. If he got into a power position and he for some reason... There's no light at the end of that tunnel.
I tried not to ask a biased question. It was supposed to be biased. But please.
It's not... If we stay with power, that is when we're going to see what the 40 years of dictatorship actually means. The violence. We've already seen 22. We have Luzera full of people who did not commit any crime except belonging to a specific political party or group. But these things happen, and we have our president fronting himself as, that lead, old man that is soon retiring and once served his country and all that. So if we stay in that indifference, looking at these things and we just look on, if we actually become the Bazukulu that Museveni keeps referring to, because to be a Muzukulu you have to respect your granddad. You cannot say anything, you cannot question him, you cannot strip naked on the street. Opoloje, sorry to say, but you're no longer Muzukulu just by stripping,
But was she ever a Muzukulu?
I think I was the black sheep, the rebellious child.
Even away, I'm not your Muzukulu. I am a taxpayer.
Exactly.
I know my grandfather.
But then we've fallen into that rhetoric of the president, that image tries to front of the chubby old president that is leaving office soon, and then you guys have to just accept whatever is until I go. So until we jump out of that table, that seat that we've cultivated, or Museveni has cultivated for us, the future is not bright at all.
Okay, she paints a gloomy picture of the future. There's a one Suna K. James, he says, ask Kemitooma about the meaning of that hash on her face. I think she explained what that symbolizes. Then there's Gift Ashilia. Go girls, and you put a love emoji. Nothing will shut us up from talking about the impunity in this country. I love you all for God.
What I want to tell Ugandans is this. You see this situation, the one you feel like it's bad, but somehow you can live in it. This situation can get worse, and there are just potholes on the road. You don't even have a car, so maybe they don't inconvenience you that much. The rubbish that buried people in Chitezi, you didn't have a home in Chitezi, so it's just a statistic. Don't think for a second there that it's Praise's responsibilities, it's Kemitooma's responsibilities, it's Kemitooma's responsibility, or some activity, or some activist's responsibility. It is your responsibility. It is your responsibility. And those questions you have for the protesters, those doubts you have in the methods that we are using, use them to craft your own methods that you think will work and start doing something about it. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Kemitooma.
Dictatorship will face dictatorship and the end to it. But if we've followed history, we know how it ends. The president knows how it ends. He's a man who reads. He's a wise man. So he understands these things. Does not look bright from where I look at it.
Yeah.
If you cannot allow youth, young people, women,